Hello, ladies. We are going to be talking today about mindful eating and portion control. So we're a few weeks in, and we've already talked about um, the quality of our food and how the quality of our food does affect what we're putting into our body does affect our body. We talked about how. So we talked about what we're putting in our body, and we talked about how, like how we're combining our foods. And when we talk about macronutrients, the protein, fat, and carbohydrates, that how we're combining those things affect our weight loss and affect our body. And so today we're going to talk about how we're eating and how we eat affects this whole process as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, so then you can see this the PowerPoint. So today, again, we're talking about mindful eating and portion control. And so we're going to be talking about, there's an assignment towards the end of this, and I'm going to go through it with you. It's called the 20-minute meal. And I love the 20-minute meal, okay? I found some big ahas when I went through this myself. And I learned this concept, and I'm finishing up a health certification course, and learned this assignment and this concept through this course. So pretty interesting stuff. So again, we're going to talk about why how you eat is just as important as what we eat. And again, I learned this in my certification course, health coaching certification course, is that, definitely pretty radical stance to be able to go this way. But if we can help change the way we eat, you will start to notice, and you'll notice a difference in the way our body transforms, okay? And I'll definitely get into this more, so this will make more sense. So why do we believe this is true? If we can reduce stress and learn how to cope better with stress, you will notice it will make all the difference. So we're going to break down stress for our body. So, and one thing I'll mention even about stress, I do think, in all honesty, I believe that having some stress is good for our body. It's a consistent amount of high-level stress that where we start to notice that it has an effect on our body, and we'll break that down a little bit. So there's 4 different ways people experience stress: biologically, chemically, in the process of our body; spiritually, it's in our sense of connection; mental, emotional, in the thoughts, beliefs, and feelings; and structurally in our bones and muscles. So when we know that when it comes to reducing biological chemical stress in the body, balancing blood sugar is a major needle mover that will help you experience better health. I'm going to say that again. We know that when it comes to reducing biological chemical stress in the body, balancing blood sugar is a major needle mover that will help you experience better health. So we've already talked about what to eat so that the body is getting the highest quality food, and we've discovered that the right balance of macronutrients that help blood sugar stable and weight stable and high energy. And now what we're going to talk about is what we're going to go beyond what to eat, and we're going to talk about how to eat. And so let's do a quick refresher on the stress response itself, so you can understand why we eat. It has such a powerful impact on our metabolism and our overall health. So the moment stress is activated, our heart rate speeds up. You probably know that yourself, so you can notice your heart rate speeds up. Blood pressure increases. Our respiration quickens. Adrenal and non-adrenal cortisol is released. And so that's more than anything, you've probably heard that our cortisol levels, when it's increased into our body, it can affect our weight. It can affect, our weight loss and things like that. So cortisol is the main component to that. Blood flow is routed away from digestion in the arms and the legs, and it affects our digestion. So when we talk about stress here, our brain cannot actually tell a difference. I can't say that word very well. Differentiate. I'm going to say it differently. The brain cannot tell a difference between real and imagined stress. So real stress would be a bear was chasing after us, okay? So there's a threat and we're running after a bear. So, imagined stress, we're not necessarily life-threatened, whether or not we have, let's say, some deadlines at work. So our brain can't tell the difference, and we have the same amount of chemicals that are released into our body. So imagine running out the door, or we're scarfing down a muffin, or being crunched at work and trying to shove down a turkey wrap, or driving in terrible traffic late for an appointment and scarfing down some fruit. Your body, again, doesn't realize that these moments are not life-threatening. So what it does is it releases these stress responses, and that's where digestion starts to shut down. So this is the sciencey stuff. This is not as much my forte, but it's definitely worth mentioning. Our central nervous system, okay? The portion of the central nervous system, the CNS, that affects digestion, which is pretty cool to kind of think about too. The most is called the automatic nervous system, which is the ANS. So ANS can turn on digestion, or it can turn off digestion. ANS has two branches, the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So our ANS is sympathetic nervous system. It turns on stress or turns off digestion. So our parasympathetic nervous system turns off stress and turns on digestion. So this is profound information, and it's actually, as we talk a little bit more about this, you'll find that we can actually work on this, and we can actually slow down the eating process. And I'll talk a little bit about how that, we're not going to have to go super slow in this, but as far as eating, but it does affect the way that we actually digest food and the way that we actually take in food. It's pretty interesting. So eating healthy food and taking healthy healthy actions are only half the equation. So what we're actually putting into our bodies is half of it, okay? The other half is how we're actually doing it. So healthy food and life choices plus ideal digestion and ideal assimilation equals the best health and life ever. So in last week's lesson, we talked about healthy food choices. This week, as we cover how to eat, we're going to look at how you eat sets the stage for ideal digestion and ideal assimilation. So remember, it is actually scientifically impossible for the body to release weight or heal in it under a constant amount of stress. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. Remember, it's scientifically impossible for the body to release weight or heal when it's under a constant amount of stress. So remember, it's constant. Okay, so some stress is certainly good for to be honest with you, good for our body, but constant amount of stress, your body's affected by that, because the secret 7 practices, which we'll talk about, that will turn off the stress response. And so you'll have this tool that we're going to actually shift this process. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and it's all through the 20-minute meal. So let's talk a little bit about the 20-minute meal. So now that you know what to eat, let's talk a little bit about how to eat. And so this may surprise you, but when it comes to weight loss, how you eat is just as important, if not more important, than what we actually put into our body. So how does the 20-minute meal work? Starting with your next meal, I would like for you, or even this week, to be honest with you, I would like for you to follow these steps. Okay, so, and I'm going to have a worksheet for you, and I'm going to attach it in the Facebook group, and I'll also send it to you by email. So it's really pretty simple, okay? So here's how to do the 20-minute meal. Step 1, what I'd like for you to do is set up a timer. Maybe it's on your phone, or maybe it's on your stovetop or something like that. Go ahead and check the clock, start the clock, whatever you want to do, before you start your meal. Eat your meal at the pace you normally would. Check the clock at the end of your meal and jot down how long it took you, okay? So if it took you 5 minutes, then let's jot it down. And so step 2, or actually we're not step 2 yet, bonus tip, the 20-minute meal, just so you know, is not a food journal. So we're not journaling, writing down what we ate. It's not about eating bad or good food, quote unquote. And it's about discovering if we're taking enough time during our meals to be able to tell if we're digesting our food, okay? So what you'll find, well, I won't go there yet. Well, let's go to step 2. Step 2, at your next meal, so the first meal we just set a timer, we're going to see how long it took. So if it took you 5 minutes, 8 minutes, let's just jot down how long it took. Next meal, increase your meal time by 5 minutes more than your last meal. So if it took you 5 minutes to eat your first meal, let's try and increase it to 10 minutes. Document your meal time when you eat. When you start to feel full, your mood and aha moments in your meal, okay? And then step 3, keep repeating until you increase your meals all the way to 20 minutes. Okay. I'm going to be, well, and I'll read through and I'm going to tell you what my experience is like. Step 4, note at what time during the meal that you felt satisfied and when you tip over to kind of that full sensation. Okay. And then step 5, make each meal for the next 7 days a 20-minute meal or longer. Note in your meal journal if you feel uncomfortable or full. So I'm going to tell you what I did the 20-minute meal. What I found was what I did was I kind of set a timer. And what I did was I ate my meal, and it might have taken me 8 minutes or something like that. So I tried to increase it a little bit slower. But I actually found, maybe what I did, it took me about 10, 12 minutes to eat or something like that. What I did is my one portion, and I let my timer run out to about 20 minutes. And so what I found was that I actually did not, before I was, doing the 20-minute meal, what I found was that I actually felt like I needed more food. So maybe I needed a protein bar, I needed more food. And so when I was incorporating the 20-minute meal, let's say it took me 8-10 minutes to eat. And then what I did was, okay, I've got another 10 minutes till the timer goes out. So I'm not going to add any more food, and just kind of see what ended up happening is my brain and my stomach, my brain was able to catch up to my stomach. And what I found was that I actually didn't need any more food. And so when I actually incorporated this in, honestly, within my first few days, probably a week or two, I actually dropped 5 pounds, because what I started noticing, I was actually taking in less food. So that's one of the main things I'd like for you to do is kind of see that you're, and one thing we want to do is we don't want to allow ourselves to get to a point where we're ravenous. And so that's when we start eating a lot of food. And so incorporate the 20-minute meal, start to slow down. I'm not saying we need to go to like a chew, to be honest with you, there's some other ways we can incorporate slowing our meals down. But for me, that's not realistic. I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, if that's realistic for you and you want to incorporate those, that is awesome. But for me, it's not realistic. This is realistic. And for me, I'm not still going super slow where my meals are just, taking forever and everyone's waiting for them, would be waiting for me or something like that. But this is a realistic, realistic for me to eat a meal in 10 minutes or something like that. And then again, I just let the timer run out, and then I check to see, what's my hunger level at. Okay. And so anyway, what we're going to do is I want you to go ahead and give the 20-minute meal a try this week and let me know what you think. Okay. So go ahead and go through the steps, and I'd like for you to go ahead and incorporate it this week. Okay. Into your eating. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I would like for you to go ahead and let me know your ahas, and I will go ahead and share this document with you so you can go ahead and get started. Okay, you're doing great. I'm excited to kind of hear what you think about this, and I will talk to you guys soon. See you in the Facebook group.